DJ has to bet, and he's also dumb. Even though he's blonde, he's not very fun. He has his own talk show, it's every gamer's dream. It's a crazy little talk show, and it's called Cookies and Cream.
Hey there, it's Cookies, and I believed in Alone in the Dark. I am proud to say that despite some shortcomings, this title not only succeeds in reimagining the IP for modern audiences, but it is a hefty horror title that stands on its own devilish legs, which can also go toe-to-toe with the absolute best of them. Yes, the formula for AAA horror titles of the over-the-shoulder, third-person, action-oriented style has been on replay. But while this foundation feels all too familiar, the story, set pieces, environment, and overall care for the project combine together to make a recipe worth cooking up in the confines of your crib, overlooking the limitations of this title. Let's get into it. Now, the story takes a lot of the skeletal structure from what made the original engaging: open, labyrinth-based exploration, two narratives that change how the story plays out and offer up more details on the world, a heavy focus of exploration with combat dividing up the brain teasers that take more thought than most other horror titles, and an eerie presentation in the visual quality. Back then, it was these sexy polygonal figures, but now we have a New Orleans-inspired landscape with a mixture of Gothic architecture and a stunning soundtrack to boot. This experience feels different than any other AAA horror title on the market, despite the elements it borrows, and that is a testament to the design philosophy of THQ here. Rebrand Alone in the Dark and keep it in its own lane.
Oh goodness, you scared me.
What are you up to, Jeremy?
I have to tell someone what is going on here. I have to try. You're not one of them, are you? Please tell me, Grace. You're not a spy, are you?
Who's spy?
Them. The others. All of them. No, you're too innocent.
I'm too innocent.
I need to get this letter to my niece. She would understand.
Just give it to the clerk, Mr. Waits, and he'll post it.
No, he could be in on it. What if he won't post my letter?
Then don't make it look like it's one of yours. Here, let me do it. Miss Emily Hartwood, Dauphin Street, New Orleans. You don't have the number? Not sure the postman's gonna find it without... Jeremy? Where'd he go? I'll just post it myself then.
What the combat gets right are the finite resources and management in each area. In both playthroughs, enemy encounters will play out differently, meaning you are constantly engaged with staying alive rather than deploying auto mode. The downside is that the clunky nature of larger encounters can feel troublesome versus horrifying. Games like the RE2 remake have extensive animations built into enemy variety that pair well with each other, making the cause-effect relationship of you attacking a creature feel rewarding, yet tense every time you choose to do so. Kinda like Doom Eternal, where every enemy represents a chess piece on the board. While Alone in the Dark's combat is the best it's ever been, there are some cracks that feel rather last-gen and not in a good way. The melee feels sluggish in a way that doesn't always connect. When it's a one-on-one encounter and you are slowing the pace of the fight down, taking in the ambience of the moment-to-moment recreation of Louisiana, then it all clicks brilliantly. When the fight grows beyond 3 enemies and you're unable to flee, however, it all fades into a jumbled set of chords akin to the stellar soundtrack.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun. where thousands of young to salvation have gone. Oh God, she knows I'm one.
Don't let them get inside, compare. They're not the good kind.
Dissected isn't cursed or blessed. It's a battleground.
Maybe the Dark Man just likes it when you suffer.
Have you ever talked to a doctor about your condition?
The story itself doesn't surprise on the macro scale, but the smaller moment-to-moment encounters littered throughout each campaign are an absolute blast to experience firsthand and had me saying oh shit on more than one occasion, especially since playing as both characters, you will see these various side characters treat you entirely differently, and scenes will just play out completely differently in more than one occasion. Speaking of campaigns, both protagonists are balanced well, and while they play the same, the way they perceive and explore environments still differs enough to feel like new content. It's not to the stage of like the original Resident Evil 2, but it is handled much more fluently here than it was, say, in the Resident Evil 2 remake, with big name actors David Harbour and Jodie Comer lending their talents to the experience.
Detective, I was wondering when you were going to show up.
Pardon me, excuse me. My name is Edward Carnby, private investigator.
They spent a lot of time.
I know they did, and they shouldn't. They should just use the template of Brad Pitt's face, and then we're good to go. But they had to get it right.
I just finished a movie which was based on a video game, and I had this kind of newfound appreciation for video games, having not played a lot of them in my own life. And just really kind of getting an insight into how big the gaming world is and the level of craftsmanship that goes into creating these games.
Wait.
So when the offer came through to be Alone in the Dark, I said that yes immediately.
Excuse me? Do you know where I can find Jeremy Hartwood?
What I'm most drawn to is the different characters, because they are all so different, so fully fleshed out. And I'm always just so fascinated about their dialogue.
What are you doing? I told you not to lose sight of the girl.
Don't you worry, Mags. I'll find that little rascal.
Who are you people?
You really do feel like when Emily meets a new character, the world is completely changed.
Ruth Talon. Nice to meet you.
I mean, he's kind of a gruff detective, and he's like searching for something, and you know, he's hard-boiled, but he's got some humor to him and stuff like that. He's a bit of a trope or a type, and I like that, and I like the world and sort of how he's exploring this insanity amidst all this horror and stuff. I liked all those aspects.
Oh, she is just peachy, detective.
You want to be able to sort of ride a balanced line of being able to play a character that's a certain way, but also that it doesn't have too many specifics so that someone will distance themselves from that character. You want them to be able to invest in this person.
Well, I guess it's also trying to make sure that there isn't like one tone throughout. Like, yeah, you know it's a horror, but then you don't want her to be one level throughout the whole game. You know, like, yes, there is the kind of scary element, but then she still has to go on a journey and discover different things, and there should still be room to breathe and have a funny moment or a sarcastic moment or a moment of discovery. So it's just trying to really kind of keep all those other beats alive amongst the kind of darkness of it all, I guess, is how I felt anyway. And she is kind of, you know, there's a lot of fear within her and a lot of speculation and curiosity and, I guess, dread, intrigue. Like, there's a lot about her that is kind of on edge.
Detective, I really need you to get yourself together. I can't do this alone.
Yeah, I'll definitely play it. I'll probably play it as Emily. The cinematics will probably be better, but it'll be those moments in the gameplay where, you know, you're running around trying to solve something, and as I say, I'm pretty terrible at it, and then you just hear, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that. Then I'll be very annoyed with my own voice. I can't leave. I got a job to do. I can't leave. I got a job to do. I can't leave. I got a job to do.
It's really, really cool. I mean, like, never, ever would I think that I would have the opportunity to do something like this, you know? It's so incredible to be able to kind of step out of what you usually do and explore something new and kind of challenge yourself in a new way. So it's been amazing.
You can at least gather that the main push for Alone in the Dark is going to be a cinematic storytelling-based adventure akin to the original, with some leeway taken with how certain characters are presented, certain encounters are experienced, and the overall story being told in a much more fluid manner. The voice actors do an incredible job, and the script balances the tongue-in-cheek nature of the series' legacy without feeling lazy. The side cast arguably steal the show here on more than one occasion. Every room tells a story, and with some minor pacing issues in the latter third of the journey, exploring the mansion and various grounds will keep you on your toes, just like the original. The two campaigns play differently with mixed up locations, puzzles, and even, again, and I have to stress, even some of the smaller details from each of the characters will start opening up new avenues of exploration for you. There are even secrets to be discovered by playing through both storylines, some additional endings, and some things fans and newcomers do not want to miss out on. Now, I will say the best part of this experience was definitely how the environment portrays the story. Now, we have Edward Carnaby and Emily Hartward's trip to the plantation house at Deserto. There's one simple goal: find Emily's uncle, Jeremy, who is a painter, and in more than one case, an absolute batshit crazy madman. The backdrop, again, of mental health, has an obvious goldmine for easy atmosphere and spooky setups that we've seen time and time and time again. But the mansion itself was actually really fun to move through. Piece together the environment in both playthroughs felt organic and interesting. Alone in the Dark's cosmic horror, it comes in part from that journey to and through dreamscapes that are conjured up from Jeremy's memories. The mansion itself seems to have a kind of memory as well, as almost it's alive, as at any point the subtlest action on your part will plunge you into a temporary nightmare version, a landscape of rotten decay, or one rife with monsters, or even one seemingly drawn from the plantation burning during the Civil War. There's a lot of interesting elements that come into play, especially in the middle section of this game, that really keeps you on your toes and just becomes an absolute blast without feeling too far out of place. A lot of these moments feel modernized in a way that felt good, and while this game isn't a walking simulator, some of the best moments truly did come from simply walking down the street and seeing what would happen. And look, all of this has been intensified by an option to where you can even turn on or off an old school mode, forcing you to figure out what clues go to which puzzles and where on your own. It's all optional too. There's an absolute suite of choices that let you turn on and off things like puzzle hints, text highlighting, map icons, dynamic objective markers, and interchangeable objects in the world. I absolutely love this because you can tell the developers wanted to give that old school approach for fans of the original IP, but also making it accessible for new people. And that's absolutely incredible. At the end of the day, the big thing that really elevates Alone in the Dark, this soft reboot, if you will, is just the amount of heart and dedication that's gone to crafting the experience, the atmosphere. While some of the elements aren't as streamlined as, say, the Resident Evil titles of recent years, there's just so much care and joy put into these encounters that even when the game felt too clunky, even when some of the elements got a little too obtuse for my taste, even when the game would bug out on more than one occasion, it was easy to overlook because the experience was just fun. You want to get more into the horror, you want to understand more of all these side characters throughout the story. You want to piece the overall plot together, and having the plot separated between the two protagonists just was absolutely fun. There's no other way to put it. And a second playthrough, heck, even a third playthrough is absolutely worth it, so you can gather all the secrets as well as a lot of the neat Easter eggs and nuances you can easily miss in the environments. So let's separate some pros and cons. In the pros, you have a game that just has incredible writing across the board. A lot of the elements from the notes to the character monologues felt organic, the conversations felt fresh and refreshing, the changes between the characters were engaging, and the overall plot, while not shocking in the grand scheme of things, the moment-to-moment elements will take you for twists and turns you won't see coming. And the environments play into this narrative in such a refreshing and fun way that it makes the horror enjoyable. There are some tense encounters and some great designs in the environments. Some of the monster elements looked absolutely stunning, like something from Bloodborne. And the soundtrack, without a doubt, is absolutely knocking it out of the park and selling this title as something that, while it plays a lot like some other AAA horror games in the industry, it feels its own. It does feel like it's doing its own thing. It's not a monkeys to the Beatles sort of dilemma here. Now for the cons, we can't omit the fact that there are some issues with the combat, especially in larger based encounters. Some of the late game areas get a little infuriating beyond the point of being just simply unbalanced, and there is a drop in quality when it comes to the pacing, at least in the latter third of this game. It does stick the landing, and you do feel like both of the playthroughs are worth it, but there are some moments that unfortunately do kind of dip more than what we would experience in, most other AAA horror titles of this pedigree. The love put into this game can be felt from every polygon, as dorky as that sounds. From costume setups to filters emulating the PS1 era, and even developer commentary sprinkled throughout this game, it all succeeds in doing what THQ sought out to do. This game protects the IP's legacy, while taking some big swings a la the 2008 entry, but never goes off the rails like Illumination. There are elements that don't blend well. Some of the larger scale encounters become absolutely tedious and unbalanced, whereas the pacing can start chugging along right when the narrative hits a sweet spot in the second act. But in the end, I got exactly what I wanted. A reimagining of a long-forgotten classic. Alone in the Dark stands on its own. And for any horror fan, this is a must-buy this year. 4 special unique campaign encounters out of 5. Have you played Alone in the Dark yet? Are you interested in picking it up? Were you around during the original for it coming back out? Or is this your first time getting into the experience? Comment below and let me know the vibes. As always, thank you for tuning in. This is your boy Cookies, signing off.